Joining us now, Emily Sirota, Colorado's running for a Colorado State House seat. Emily, you worked in progressive circles before, but why run for a seat?
I think, like a lot of people, I am feeling anxious and worried about what we face: climate change, a healthcare emergency. We have an affordable housing crisis here in Denver. We're facing a lot of problems, and I don't see them being addressed. And it's either stand up and do something about it, or watch these things unfold. And I've got 2 young kids and a future for them to think about. And so I just felt like I can't wait anymore. It's time to stand up and do something about this. So
you were involved in a lot of progressive groups before, the Colorado Progressive Coalition, et cetera. And you, I'm sure, of course, you can name a lot more. Just a random question: what got you interested in politics in the first place?
It's funny. My high school government teacher got me really interested in government and what can be accomplished for the common good. And so I was a political science major in college, and after I graduated from college, I moved to Washington, D.C., and was very idealistic and thought that this would be the best way to help the most people at one time. And I certainly did get an education in Washington about how our government works, and have since worked in both federal government and state government, and now done organizing work, and I'm a social worker here at the local level.
Yeah, so I was a kid who was always interested in politics. I watched the McLaughlin Group when I was like 12, and I loved it. Fred the Beetle Barnes. But like
C-SPAN is one of my favorites.
Who was?
C-SPAN.
Oh yeah. How very Michael sure of you. But like you, I had a great political science teacher in high school, actually, who got me so revved up on it. He taught John Calamano. What a wonderful teacher he was. So then you went and worked as a policy aide for a Democratic U.S. senator, a congressman, and a Democratic governor. So that's a lot of experience in politics. And you said you got an education in Washington just a second ago. So what was that education? What did you learn in that experience?
Well, I think that what I learned is what is true in a lot of ways, that you learn a lot of theory in school about how things are supposed to work. And then once you get in there, you see how it's actually working. You learn about, when it comes to government and politics, the really devastating role that money plays in politics and our political system. And that we see both on the federal level and at the state and local levels, that we get what we pay for. And so campaign finance reform is also something that's really important to me in getting the money and this corporate influence out of our government.
Well, that's obviously music to my ears. But let's talk about if you're allowed to, or you feel comfortable doing it, any specific instances that you remember when you were working for those politicians that made you go, "Oy, what are we doing here?"
You kind of learn that especially in Washington, when a piece of legislation is moving, everyone gloms onto it because it's the only way they're going to get their special thing into a bill and passed. You got to pick the train that's moving, and so just the number of special interests and things that got shoved in there, the kind of revolving door between lobbyists and people working for elected officials, all made for I think policy that has necessarily the priorities of the average American pretty low on the list.
Yeah, that unfortunately is very true, and most polls bear out the fact that most Americans are onto that fact. So the fact that you're fighting against that, I think, is not only speaks highly of you, but certainly will help your chance of winning. So at the state level, which is where you're running, what's your priorities? What do you think are the top things that really could help the state of Colorado?
Well, as I mentioned, healthcare is a really important issue, and we clearly can't wait for the federal government to fix it. So, Colorado has attempted to pass healthcare for all, and it's something that I will continue to work on, whether that's Medicaid for all, some kind of public option, but that's something important to me. Supporting public education and our our teachers and our school workers is also something that's important. And I've been working on the issue of education for a long time. I ran for school board back in 2011, supporting our neighborhood schools and a community interest in education that have so often been ignored. And other worker-friendly policies like paid family leave and paid sick days will be important priorities for me.
So you're backed by Bernie Sanders, which is a nice endorsement to get. Progressive Change Campaign Committee, another great endorsement. And the current incumbent is a Democrat there, and so I don't know the dynamics. So I want to ask you: are you running against him? Is he retiring? What's the dynamic there?
Well, we had a really exciting win on Saturday. We had a big victory at the county assembly where delegates came and voted on candidates for access to the primary ballot. And there were 3 candidates going into the race, and one of them was the incumbent, but he did not receive enough votes at that assembly, so he is no longer a candidate in this race on the primary ballot. So we defeated the incumbent, which is no small feat. And I think that happened because he was not responsive to the needs and the interests of the members of the community, and was probably too conservative for the district. And was there, we had some differences of opinion when it comes to oil and gas development. I believe that our communities ought to be able to have the right to regulate and reject fracking and oil drilling if they choose, and he didn't believe that. And we had some other differences of opinion when it comes to public education and how we treat homeless members of our community. So there were a lot of issues at play that, and I think that the voters just said, we're ready for a change, we're ready for something new. And I'm excited to be part of this progressive wave of 2018.
Damn, Emily, you're a killer, man. You didn't even let the incumbent go to the general election. So what's, you making a list of all the people you're gonna take out? That would be and Emily's list. Anyway, so what's next in this election for you then?
We're just excited. We're just getting out our message to the voters and just burning a lot of shoe leather, getting out there, knocking on doors, phone banking, and of course, raising money. We have a really amazing grassroots campaign going. We have already gathered, I think, about 1,300 contributors to our campaign, and people are just really excited and energized, I think, about this time. And like I said, I think there's a lot of anxiety out there about the issues that we're facing every day, but also hope that in 2018, we can see this progressive wave of change, of something new and different happening. Because one other issue that is also really important here in Colorado, but across the country, is the issue of gun violence. And I am a mom standing up, demanding action and saying we've got to do something. We have got to change things so that we can send our kids to school safely and not feel anxiety about the gun violence that is plaguing our nation.
Okay, I want to give everybody the links to Emily. So emilyforcolorado.com, and obviously donation volunteer link there. You guys know links are in the description box on YouTube, comment section on Facebook if you're watching this later. I do have to say, I want people to know, because I don't want to, because of conflict of interest issues or whatever, disclosure issues. I don't think I said that right. Anyway, that Emily's husband, David Sirota, does work for the Young Turks as a contributor. So I want you guys to know that. I also want you to know that because that means she's a warrior. She's had to live with David Sirota. And if you could survive that, you could survive anything, Emily. All right, thank you for joining us. Go get him. But it's obvious you're a huge fighter. Already took out the incumbent, and but of course, when you're not corrupt and you're not taking corporate cash and you're not taking that PAC money, you're gonna need all the help you can get from those small donations. So everybody, make sure that you chip in. Thank you so much for joining us, Emily. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Cenk. I appreciate it.